Mayor Ginny Dickey of Fountain Hills is with us this evening. And we also are thrilled to have our Maricopa County Democratic Party Chair, Patty O'Neill, with us tonight, as well as a number of other candidates who won't be highlighted this evening, but who are running for important offices, including some of our LD candidates who are with us, some of our school board candidates who are with us. They all need your time, your money, your support, and most importantly, your vote. And really, that's what tonight is all about, is looking ahead to November and getting that vote out when it counts. Because I know we say this cycle after cycle, but this year it really does matter in a way that it's never mattered before. This is existential, and it's not only the top of the ticket that's important, it's all of the candidates top to bottom, because in many cases, as we're learning in some ways the hard way, it's the folks who are in those down ticket offices that are our last line of defense, that are really going to fight the final battle to try and keep us safe at the county level from some of the toxic policies that are coming down at the state or at the federal level. And hopefully the folks you're going to hear from tonight will earn your support, because I think they do deserve it, and they are certainly working hard to keep it. With that, I want to acknowledge a couple of folks without whom we really could not be here tonight. There are three of our incredible local LD chairs who have made tonight possible in a very literal way. To Cherry Tomlinson, Victoria Kozlerek, and Donna Durand, thank you. Thank you very much for asking me to participate this evening and for the privilege of being your host tonight. Thank you for organizing this. And thank you for the incredible turnout that you put together. And I really do want to acknowledge, we had over 280 registrants this evening, more than 10 house parties, some of which we're expecting crowds upwards of 40 people. So we have an amazing cross-section here tonight of voters who are here to learn from these wonderful candidates. And it is those three incredible women who make it all possible. I know applause don't work in this environment, but if I can ask everybody to give them snaps, we need to acknowledge their incredible work at making this possible. And with that, I want to start to lead into who you're actually going to hear from this evening. We're going to be exploring 4 groups of candidates through 4 separate moderated panels. We're going to be talking to candidates who are in offices in the area of education. We're going to be hearing from our Board of Supervisors candidates. We're going to be hearing from our county-wide candidates, and you'll hear a little bit more about the specifics of those offices as we get there. And finally, we have a special session that is going to be focused on water with 2 of our candidates for the Central Arizona Water District Board. But we're going to begin this evening by starting off in a very appropriate place with it, which is with education. And that's really what tonight is about. We hope you're going to leave this evening feeling informed, feeling like you have more knowledge than you started with, like you're going away with information that you can use. And that's really the overarching purpose of this evening. And our first panel of candidates focused on education is going to be moderated by an incredible educator herself, Ginny Castine, who many of you know. She has been an incredible advocate and candidate in her own right, and a powerful voice for education. And you're going to be hearing about some positions on this panel that may not be front of mind. And I want to highlight in particular because it is of personal meaning to me. I am a product of the community college system in California, but my father retired as the president and CEO of the Maricopa Community Colleges Foundation, himself having been a lifelong community college educator and instructor and administrator. And that's special to me this evening because amongst the candidates you're going to be hearing from are the candidates for the Maricopa Community Colleges Board, which is critical to the future of higher education in this state, especially with the challenges we're seeing faced by our university system, with the challenges of skyrocketing costs to education, the burdens of student loans, and the need for practical, vocational, and technical education. The community colleges really play a critical role. So we're going to begin this panel, as we will the first three of our panels this evening, with a special video presentation. And I really have to applaud Victoria Kozleric for putting together these videos to highlight what these offices are about and the candidates you're going to be hearing from. So we're going to go ahead and start that introductory video, and we'll return with Jeannie Castine, who will introduce the candidates she'll be moderating. Thank you all.
Awesome. Great. Awesome. Thank you so much. I am not going to waste anybody's time, folks, because we are on a tight schedule. My name is Jeannie Castine. I am kind of intimately aware of one of these positions, but that's old news. So I want to get right to the new news. Can all of you hear me okay? Hit thumbs up if you can hear me. Awesome. Okay, great. So since these are two very different positions that handle very different budgets and different groups of people, I'm going to actually be asking questions of Dr. Laura Metcalf, and then I'm going to be asking questions of the community college candidates. So let's get right to it, Dr. Metcalf. So we know the importance of school board appointments in this office. We know that you run the elections when it comes to bonds and overrides, et cetera, but we hear very little about the services provided to school districts. And we haven't seen that kind of support to individual school districts since 2016, when Dr. Don Covey was in that office. So as the next Maricopa County School Superintendent, can you tell us what your vision is to support those 58 school districts in Maricopa County?
Absolutely. And thank you, Jeannie. And thank you, everybody, for having me be here. I will make this short and to the point. Presently, right now, there are no services being provided to any school district at any time for any reason from this office. My vision for this office to be able to support those school districts, when there are 58 of them in this county, are based on need. I have spent the last year and a half going around speaking to school district superintendents from small schools, tribal schools, large school districts, medium school districts, to find out what their needs are. And those needs are the following. Teachers need professional development support. They don't have budget or they don't have personnel to be able to help train teachers. Schools don't have curriculum. Arizona School for the Deaf and Blind has no curriculum that their teachers are using to help their students meet state standards. They print things off of Google and adapt it. This office has a ripe opportunity to provide curriculum support to small schools that don't have curriculum specialists or curriculum in place to be able to make those to buy. Additionally, school district superintendents who are tired, who are very, very worn out, are looking for special education support. This office will provide contracted services at or better than the services being provided to special education students presently on school district campuses. And we will also provide an opportunity to connect with the school apprenticeship, the state apprenticeship program, where adults and high school students from across the county will be able to train and be admitted to the state apprenticeship program to help fill the need for areas in industries such as construction, welding, automotive, medical, and other areas. Right now, nothing's being provided, and we're going to go from 0 to 100% in 1 year as quickly as possible, because it's necessary, it needs to be done, and it has a huge, huge benefit for our students and our teachers and our administrators.
Sorry, I'm not allowed to unmute myself. Somebody's got to do it for me. Okay, got it. Okay, I'll keep it on from here on out. All right, let's go ahead and move then to our very important Maricopa County Community College candidates. So I've got a few questions here. You can arm wrestle over it, or you can just take them as they go. But I'm going to go ahead and start off. Why don't I start out with Jacqueline, if that's okay? We know that Maricopa County community colleges get little to no funding from the state, right? And they don't receive nearly enough attention in general. So what would you say, Ms. Smith, are the greatest needs of A, the students, and B, the faculty and staff of Maricopa County community colleges?
Well, first, thank you so much for having us at this great event. Linda, Tom, and I currently serve on the board. And one of the points I really want to emphasize is that being on a governing board, when done effectively, is really a team sport. And I'm really happy to say that all 7 governing board members are presently a highly effective, capable, collegial team. And your question is so important. We're a team that is actually putting the students and faculty front and center in all of the decisions that we make, which has sadly not always been the case for the governing board. I think we're highly motivated by student success. We are a board who voted for the Maricopa Community Colleges to have 4-year bachelor's degree programs, which I know we'll be discussing today. And we're a board that wants to make sure that faculty have the resources that they need to continue to teach the programs that they've been teaching for years and to push themselves to teach in new ways. I would say every month we hear from groups of students at our monthly public meetings. And in addition to the kinds of typical student needs that you might think of in terms of advising services and other kinds of counseling support services, many of the students in Maricopa are working learners and caregivers. They are really strapped for time, and in all of our campuses, they have some sort of food pantry or other services for students that are trying to have their basic needs met. So I would leave this audience with the fact that the students of Maricopa Community Colleges are a very hardworking group of students. Their needs range from basic needs to those that will propel them for workforce success and for continued success, potentially to get a 4-year degree elsewhere or on one of their campuses. My colleagues may want to also add on to that question. Thank you.
Well, thanks so much, Jacqueline. And actually, why don't we, because I know our time is so limited today, let's kind of piggyback off of that. And I'm going to go with you, Linda Thor. You have an extensive background in community colleges, and I know it was a big deal for you all to bring 4-year programs to community colleges. I was just in Peoria Unified where a student was announcing he got a presidential scholarship and going to GCC for the full 4-year program. So could you maybe break down, like, what are the different 4-year programs that you've brought to these 2-year community colleges? Maybe where are they, and how did you prioritize that? I know it's a 3-parter, so answer as much as you can in 2.5 minutes, okay?
All right, Jeannie, this is more than a 2.5-minute answer, so I'll try to keep it brief. And let me also thank the planners of this forum for putting this together tonight. And I also have to do a shout out to Jeremy's father, Steve Helfgott, who I worked with for many, many years and is a wonderful man. We have been attempting to get authority to offer bachelor's degrees in community colleges for 25 years. But thanks to the strong board that we now have, that Jacqueline referenced, we were able to get that authority from the legislature in 2021. All of our degrees are in areas of high workforce demand. So we're not offering degrees in English and history and political science. We started our first 7 bachelor's degrees this fall and already have 2,800 students enrolled. And in fact, this Thursday night, Rio Salado College will graduate the first bachelor's degree recipient in public safety administration, with several more at other colleges. So we've started with things like public safety, teacher education. Our largest program is behavioral health. This fall, we're adding nursing. We're going on to do AI, artificial intelligence, and machine learning. So we're on a roll. What I want everybody to know is these are affordable, accessible degrees. Our students are largely first generation. The total cost of all 4 years, $14,000. This is a game changer for Maricopa.
Wow, parents out there, do you hear that? My goodness, that is quite a bargain, and in fields that we really need them. So these are all folks that are already elected into these positions. That's why it's even more important that we keep them in these positions. And I saw earlier in the chat that they are still looking for signatures. So folks, if you are passionate about education the way that I am, you definitely want to make sure that these folks have your contact information so they can get a petition from you and you can get the signatures for these folks, because these are good pro-public education people. And now that I've talked about pro-public education people, Tom, may I ask, sorry, this one's kind of a tough question, but like, what would you say? Because we hear, I mean, I monitor what's going on in K-12 education more than I do in community college and post-grad, but like, what we hear about these extremists, right? What would you say the biggest threat right now is to the community colleges here in Arizona?
Well, thanks for having me, and that is a good question. I think it's the attack on just education as a whole. We just look at the funding that's been cut and that sort of thing, and the only new monies we're bringing in is through tuition and through different grants and things that we're getting from the outside, not from our own state. So we really need to lobby back, because going back to the first question that what Jacqueline was addressing is, if we had those kind of fundings that were cut, we can retain more of our students. We can provide them more academic advice, and we can provide them more support so that they don't have to work as much. They don't have to spend so many hours working to pay for the school, and they can get it done in a timely fashion. And again, back to the bachelor's degree program. I know it sounds like a matter of semantics, but we had 4-year degrees when I graduated from Mesa back in 1980, because it took me 4 years to get an associate's degree. Since most of our students are part-time, they're not going to get it done in 4 years. So, we need to make sure that it's a bachelor's degree that they're going for, not a 4-year degree, because so many of our students are working, are part-time, and they are taking a little bit longer. And I know when it took me 4 years, I was really kind of shamed by folks because it took me so long to get the associates. So we just want to make sure that we refer to it as a bachelor's degree. But again, it's the funding, and it's the education. We keep talking about because it's not just the funding that we're getting at the college level, it's the funding at the K-12 level, because we keep talking about Maricopa as being the best kept secret. Well, why is it the best kept secret? Is because our counselors, I was a counselor for more than a dozen years, and we're not being trained. The high school counselors aren't being trained to what kind of services and programs that are being offered at the community colleges or at any of the universities. And we need to train them, do a better job of training the teachers and the counselors to what we have to offer, so that we're not a secret. We're not the best kept secret. All of our programs are out there for the public to know.
Yeah. Well, okay. No shame in my game. It took me about 14 years to get my bachelor's. So, I mean, not all of us learn at the same pace. Some of us are late bloomers. Now, just imagine if we had a county superintendent who was involved, who could maybe bring this kind of programming together and get it out to the people who need it. Wow, wouldn't that be amazing if we had that vertical articulation between high school counselors and what the community colleges are doing? So speaking of the potentiality of a new Maricopa County superintendent of schools, my question to you is, Laura, Dr. Metcalf, I've heard an awful lot about the mismanagement of funds in this current administration. So can you give us a little snapshot of what's going on with the funding in Maricopa County? And this might take more than 2 minutes. Oh, noise. Yeah, give her sound, people. Sorry. Sorry. See, we're bad at this. If somebody could unmute Laura, could somebody do that? That'd be great.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. So right now, this office has between $5 and $6 million of missing taxpayer money that should have gone to teachers and students. As we know, there are schools and school districts that are underfunded throughout the entire state. And to have this office misplace and prevent and participate in fiscal malfeasance is unacceptable. And I will keep my blood pressure low on this issue. So at this point in time, the money that was supposed to have gone to students in detention and the teachers that are supposed to be teaching them has been missing. There's also $1.7 million of a federal grant that is missing. That the money that was supposed to go to detention students was $2.8 million. On top of that, the Board of Supervisors ordered a forensic audit in May of 2023. It started in October of 2023, and it will be wrapping up this month, April 2024. And that cost us taxpayers another $160,000 to find the missing 2.8 and $1.7 million that should have been accounted for to begin with. So in that case, what's going to happen here is those results of that forensic audit will be provided to the Board of Supervisors, hopefully next month, May, and those answers will be in place. When I am elected to this seat, I will be the one that will provide fiscal transparency, accountability, and integrity into this office. This will never happen again. I will place day one a director of fiscal compliance who will oversee all of the transactions of this office, and those transactions and outcomes will be communicated in an understandable way on a regular basis, not only to the Board of Supervisors, but to the voters of Maricopa County, of which this elected position is accountable. At this point in time, I'm looking at some things coming into the chat. I will look at those in a minute. So largely that is the fiscal malfeasance that's happening. That is what has happened. That is the amount. That is what's being done right now, the forensic audit. And my solution will be getting me in office and cleaning up this mess. There isn't a mop big enough.
Agreed. And so there is one question here coming from Judy, and I don't know, like, this is a simple yes or no, because again, we're limited with time. So has AG Chris Mays lodged an indictment or a complaint or an investigation at all against the current Maricopa County superintendent?
No, she has not at this point in time. I've spoken to AG Mays personally twice about this, because there was a state law that was broken. Some land for the accommodation school district was sold. The money was used also incorrectly, not reported correctly out into the public. And Mr. Watson also notarized his own bill of sale for that land. And in state law, there's supposed to be a sale of a capital asset that has to be purchased of a capital asset, and that cannot be transacted outside of that. And over $1 million of that land sale was spent trying to keep the accommodation district afloat. And as of right now, there has been no investigation into that breakage of a state law.
Well, here we are, folks. I don't know if you remember growing up hearing these things, the party of fiscal, conservatism, the party of small government, the party of local control. I don't really see a lot of that these days. So to round us all out, because we got maybe a minute here, let's do a quick whip around. Let's just share your contact information real quick. And then as the other person is saying it, maybe you can type it and throw it in the chat. So why don't we go ahead and start? I know how to do things alphabetically. Laura Metcalf, quick information spit.
All right, please join me at Laura, LAURA 4 MCSS at .com. MC, I can't
Here,
type
I
and
got
talk.
it.
Okay,
I got it.
MCSS.com, that is my website. I am backed by 3 Republican candidates, one backed by Diane Douglas, the other one backed by Turning Point USA, and then of course the incumbent Steve Watson. I need your assistance, I need your vote, I need your dollars, and I need your support. Thank you.
And I'll tell you, folks, the other 2 folks on there, I mean, they make Steve Watson seem very tame. So we definitely need to get behind Dr. Metcalf. Okay, alphabetically, Tom Narini, what's your contact information?
Just put it, my email is the best way to get a hold of me. It's narinit@gmail.com.
Excellent. And then we'll go to Jacqueline Smith.
Hi, Jacqueline Smith. I put it in the chat, jbs4mcc@gmail.com. I do need help with signatures for those who are living in the East Valley. Thank you.
Awesome. And then let's round it out with education champion Linda Thor. What's your contact information?
Oh, thank you, Jeannie. I also put it in the chat. Email's the best way to reach me. My name, Linda M. Thor @gmail.com.
Excellent. Only 1 minute over. Thank you so much, everybody. And yay, pro public education.
Thank you very much, Jeannie. Thank you to all of our education candidates. That was phenomenal and informative and very much appreciated. I want to keep things moving now because we do want to give as much time to the candidates as possible. So before we go into the video for our County Board of Supervisors panel, I want to introduce our moderator. Steve Rammel is a name some of you will certainly know. Steve has spent more than 25 years in professional broadcast news before deciding that he wanted to have even more of a good time for a living and is now pursuing a professional career in music. I had the opportunity to hear him perform on Sunday. It was worthwhile. We're going to launch into a video with an overview of the offices and candidates for the County Board of Supervisors and come back with Steve and his panel.
Well, good evening, everyone, and thanks to Jeremy for that very nice introduction. And thanks to both Imogene and Emma for really outlining what we're going to be talking about in the next few minutes. I'm Steve Remmel. I'm from LD 27, and I am joined by 4 of the candidates, or actually 1 representative of a candidate for the 5 supervisor seats in the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors. We're going to not be joined tonight by Steve Gallego, and he has to be. He is a baseball coach, and his team has gone to the finals, and so they're in the playoffs. And he's actually the bus driver taking them there as well. So he's not able to join us. He is the only incumbent Democrat on the Board of Supervisors. But hopefully tonight you'll get some information to help us change all that. I'm joined tonight by Joel Navarro, who is running for the seat in District 1. Joel is currently on the Tempe City Council, but is going to be vacating his seat there to run for this this Board of Supervisors seat. District 2, our candidate is Julie Sinowski. She's going to be represented tonight by an alternate, Hillary DeCesare. And Hillary, thank you for being here to speak on behalf of Julie about the northeast part of the county, the 2nd district. Up in the north central and coming down through the central part of the county, District 3, and Daniel Valenzuela is running for that seat. He's was a member of the Phoenix City Council and now is running for the Board of Supervisors. And in the 4th district for the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors, our candidate is David Sandoval. And David is currently the president of the Peoria Unified Governing Board. So thank you all for joining us. I'm going to do a quick round robin. In this case, you're going to have about 1.5 minutes to just tell us why you're running, why now, and we're going to do numerically. So let's start with Joel Navarro. Joel, why you? Why now?
Perfect. First, thank you for this opportunity. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So why me? Why now? Well, I feel I'm the right person at the right time to ensure the spot for the Board of Supervisors, and really to reflect the values and the priorities of our residents throughout Maricopa County. I believe the vast majority of the people in Maricopa County believe in growth, opportunity, and our democracy and principles, and they reject chaos and misinformation and authoritarianism. I'm running to ensure the safety and the prosperity of the rights of everyone that's living in Maricopa County. This is a great opportunity, using my past experiences as a council member to help oversee those relationships and to guidance. I believe this is an opportune time, and I am really proud to put my name in the hat and look forward to the results of this race. Thank you.
Thank you, Joel. And for District 2, again, Julie Sinowski is not able to join us tonight, but Hillary DeCesare is here to speak on her behalf. So Hillary, what has Julie told you about why she is running for this seat?
Well, first of all, Julie regrets not being able to attend tonight's forum. She's fulfilling her elected duties with the Scottsdale Unified School District Governing Board. She also notes that her commitment will always be her practice. Julie's 30+ years of experience in education and leadership have provided her with the skills necessary to be an effective member of our Board of Supervisors. Some of her experiences in leadership include serving on the statewide board of directors at the Arizona Education Association, the Red for Ed movement, chairing many statewide committees, leading the local union association. Her role as co-chair on the board of the Family Promise of Greater Phoenix has provided her with clarity on important issues such as family homelessness. She has served in local governance during some of our county's most challenging eras. For instance, she's worked the past 3.5 years steering the Scottsdale Unified School District Governing Board through the pandemic and the battlefield of fabricated culture wars, all while maintaining prudent fiduciary outcomes. Her 30 years as a middle school education leader have given her the focus to lead the Board of Supervisors towards the future, addressing the rapidly evolving issues of our county with sensibility and discernment.
All right, thank you, Hillary. We're going to turn now to District 3 and Danny Valenzuela. Daniel, it looks like you're still muted. I'm not sure if that's something that Crystal needs to take care of or if you can unmute yourself, but we'd like to hear from you. Why are you running?
Okay, everyone hear me okay? All right, well, thank you for having me and thank you for having us. I'm Daniel Valenzuela, and this is a critical time. We need experienced leadership at the county. We see what is happening. I think Joel Navarro, good friend of mine, mentioned that people reject chaos. At the end of the day, we do. I bring experienced leadership, lifelong public servant, 20 years with the fire department, 2 terms on the Phoenix City Council, where I led on keeping people safe, moving our economy forward, and planning for the future. The city of Phoenix also runs their own elections, and I championed elections as well. And none of those things will matter if our elections don't matter. And you see what has taken place, and that headline that is burned in all of our memories, April 25th, electors indicted. That is something we all need to be thinking about. And so I will lay out in this campaign exactly the answer to your question. Continue to do that. Why now, and why me for this particular district? And I really like our matchup, frankly, on the other side, because I think we'll see more of the reason sensible people such as Bill Gates not running.
All right, and finally, from our panel, David Sandoval. David, can you tell us a little bit about why you've chosen to jump into this race?
Yeah, no, thank you again, everybody, for your time and this opportunity, and all the locals, the LDEs, and all your support. I really appreciate it. For me, it's I'm experienced 8 years. I'm in my 8th year on the governing board in Peoria Unified. And Mr. Ramley, you referenced my presidency. Just to clarify, I just finished my 4th consecutive year as the president of the governing board. I'm currently the clerk. But in those 4 years, though, as president, I led the governing board and supported the district during its most contentious times, during COVID and now during these culture wars that were mentioned earlier. I always have had and will continue to have a listen first mentality. I value everybody's opinions and perspectives, and I will prioritize people over everything else. My hope is that everybody has an equitable opportunity to be inspired every day and live a life of fulfillment. I'm deeply rooted in the city of Peoria, the West Valley. And for me, I think, Supervisor Hickman, I believe he sat in this seat with courage. And I want to continue to do that. He certified elections in the face of adversity. And, like me, I believe he's like-minded. And, I will not negotiate my value, even in the most contentious times. So all that said, again, experienced and, really want to serve the West Valley in a greater way, outside of the Peoria Unified District boundaries. So thank you again for having me.
Thank you, David. We mentioned, many of you have mentioned the elections and election integrity. That is one of the primary responsibilities of our Board of Supervisors. So let's again do a little round robin, again numerically. And we'll begin with you, Joel, about elections. How do we keep the integrity of our elections safe in Maricopa County?
Yeah, first of all, thank you again. Our county's done a great job and for a long period of time with our elections and making sure they're convenient with early ballots and whatnot. And then the aspect of also being able to have our public come in any time of the day or between hours to really look at the process, to understand the election process and to understand our system at the county and look at and inspect that. So I think that's being open and transparent. So continue that open and transparency, and then also direct the resources to protect the hardworking elected officials and the poll workers out there from threats and harassments. I think that's priority too. We need to make sure that we have good people out there helping our system out and making sure that they feel like they can be backed and don't have to really be part of those threats or harassments. We want to make sure that our voting is more secure, accessible, and convenient. We do not want to take a step backwards, and we need to invest efforts in fighting misinformation regards to elections. I think this is the opportunity. I think people are tired of it, and we have a system that absolutely is giving us results. And to expand the use of the security box and drop boxes and early ballots, keeping those out there and open. So this is our opportunity. I think at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what party you're about. It's about elections. It's about your right to vote. And so it's about protecting that right to vote, no matter who you are. So I think we're going to preserve that. And I think we have a great opportunity to do it this time. And we're going to keep on doing it right, like we always have.
All right, thank you, Joel. Hillary, have you had discussions with Julie about election integrity? What steps need to be taken?
Well, Julie and I discussed voter turnout and participation, so I would love to share her thoughts on that with you. She feels that we need to address the voter roll-off or drop-off that we've seen happening within so many communities in Arizona. We recently heard someone say that our biggest hurdle this election cycle is apathy. And Julie believes in order to keep our voters engaged, we need to keep them educated. Voter education efforts are vital to fully elicit voter participation and engagement. She would like to make sure that people understand what the duties their elected officers are responsible for and how these important roles affect their daily lives. She feels if a voter only engages in federal races, they're not recognizing the importance of local issues. And therefore, she finds great value in educating voters on what's happening at the local level and training voters to start from the bottom of the ballot and work their way up. She also feels it's important to enlighten voters on just how much every single vote matters. There have been many races in Arizona that we've seen that have been won by extremely slim margins, Chris Mays, for example. She believes voters need to understand that their vote does absolutely count and make a difference. And apathy is absolutely not on the ballot this year. She wants to make sure that her voters, including independents and moderates, understand how influential their voice is.
All right, thank you, Hillary. Daniel, you mentioned already the elections with the city council. What do you think needs to be done here at the county level?
Well, I agree with my future colleagues here, and Hillary is amazing. She needs to run. I will say that the county, I agree, the county has been doing a lot of good things. And what we need to do, what the county needs to do, is continue pushing ahead. We can't take our eye off the ball here. Okay. We have to remember you can't put a price tag on democracy. We all remember 2016, the presidential primary or preference, when people were waiting in line for 5 hours to vote. I mean, one polling place, there were 21,000 voters who went through. Several people stayed for several hours. It's unacceptable. It's not good for our democracy. It doesn't make our county or our state look good. And so I was asked then, this is in 2016, I was just starting my second term on the city council, what could be done? And immediately I talked about the city of Phoenix elections and how those elections were handled. It was the first jurisdiction to have a permanent early voting list to give voters an option to vote at any of the voting sites. All of those things the county has actually done well. But in that same year, I proposed that City of Phoenix voters for city elections automatically receive a mail-in ballot. That is still the practice today. And in contrast, what Hillary just mentioned, people are being dropped off of that list if they don't vote in 2 consecutive federal elections. So we can't take our eye off the ball here. You can't put a price tag on democracy. That cost, by the way, to the city of Phoenix was $200,000 at the time. Okay, but again, what was the alternative there? In contrast to what we were seeing at the county, a long ways away from where we were then. A lot of good things have happened, but we have to continue moving forward here.
And David, you mentioned you're the person that you were looking to replace there in District 4, and he made a tough choice, and I think that's the reason he's not seeking re-election. Why would you want to get into this, especially as important as this is?
Yeah, no, thank you for that. Well, I mentioned earlier, being the president of the governing board, doing our most contentious times, and again, it is unfortunate that the county had to expend resources due to individuals who didn't like the outcome of the election so much, who reduced themselves to violence and threats, right? Where those resources could have been used in other areas to really enhance the quality of life of all the individuals' human lives that this large county serves. So that said, I will continue to sit in a seat that serves others in a way that I will not negotiate my values. It's about people. It's not about me. I think we need to continue, like everyone has said, protecting our election workers, but also protecting the right and access, right, to vote, to safeguard everyone's voice in a process that elects individuals to serve people in a way that they deserve. And I think some of the ways that we do that, we need to continue to invest in the infrastructure, that redundancy, really to combat against, that has adverse effects on our election systems, is AI consideration, right? And how technology may be a consideration as we look, what may be coming around the corner, taking a proactive approach, right? To continue to protect and ensure that everybody has a voice in this process. I think as far as, ensuring that we have people turn out, everything that has been said, it's hopefully what's been going on with regards to our democracy today locally is going to fuel more individuals, more voter participation. But I agree, education and awareness of the impact that your voice has on electing individuals that will serve while prioritizing humanity versus politics or anything else. So again, it's been sad, but if you want the change that you wish to see in the world, one way to do this is to vote. Thank you.
We've got just a little bit of, you saw in that all the other activities and rather responsibilities of the Board of Supervisors. Can I ask you very quickly, each one of you, which area other than election integrity would you focus on? Joel, let's start with you.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, with the whole list here, I mean, there's so many areas that you want to focus on, obviously. So I'm going to take a few. Obviously, law enforcement is going to be one of them. Being over 29 years now with Phoenix Fire Department, working alongside with police officers and then women that protect us every day, you kind of see the struggles that they have to go through with shortages in staffing, especially with the dispatchers. Now, our 911 system, that is another entity that needs to be brought up, and the quality of that life needs to be improved. And that improvement helps improve our neighborhoods, our parks, and our safety within our communities. As a candidate for Supervisor District 1, I pledge to increase incentives on a regional cooperation. I mean, we have to all work together, we have to train together, but we have to be on the same pages when we do those things. Support efforts of the Sheriff's Office, work in partnership with residents for a safer community, address dispatcher shortages. I mean, those things are critical when you talk about our 911 people who actually take the calls and have to decipher what type of emergency and allocate the appropriate resources to those areas. When you're short or you're overstaffed and you can't run as many calls, or you can't get to those calls, people on the other ends, lives are in danger. So we need to address that. We need to make those hiring practices better and make sure that we can actually retain those people with great benefits and whatnot. To ensure that also that everyone that enjoys Maricopa County, that our parks, our lakes, and our unincorporated areas feels safe. And when you feel safe, when you have that opportunity to take care of your law enforcement, we need to take care of those people and make sure they're paid right. Education is very important to me. Do you want me to go through?
We need to get through the others.
Gotcha.
Well. Hillary, can we talk about what Julie's priorities would be other than the election integrity?
Absolutely. I'll try to keep it concise. She wants to prioritize developing healthy and economically prosperous communities, where people can have a sense of community, purpose, and pride. She also feels parks and recreation play a vital role to our community for individuals of all ages. And she'd like to continue to expand and make improvements to our already incredible network of parks, trails, and outdoor recreation. She would like to see affordable and safe multi-generational housing communities become the status quo. She wants to make sure individuals have access to career and business development opportunities to provide folks livable wages. thus satisfying the needs of the community regarding aspects such as access to healthy food, technology innovation, childcare, support for the arts, and mental and physical health care. She believes healthcare needs to be accessible and affordable to all. The mental health support is very important to her to address issues of addiction and violence, thus reducing recidivism. Education options must be prioritized beginning in early childhood, but all the way up through adulthood. She feels strongly that adults should have access to retraining and skill development opportunities in order to keep up with our ever-changing work environment. She understands that those most impacted by the issues in our community must be at the forefront of the decision-making process. And she values their opinions and believes in collaborating for the betterment of the community. And I'll leave it there because I know we're pressed for time.
Thank you very much, Hillary. Danny, what about you? That whole list, that's a big list.
It is a big list. It's a big responsibility. I'm running for Maricopa County Supervisor, District 3, to bring a regional leadership approach to public safety, moving this evolving economy forward, responsible growth management, all of these great opportunities. I was able to chair 2 specific subcommittees for the city of Phoenix. I served on all of them, but I chaired 2 of them, housing and homelessness, as well as downtown aviation, innovation, and the economy. And so I know what it's like to work with colleagues and our neighboring communities and partners to help transform or to set the tone to help transform our economy. And that's exactly what we're going to do for Maricopa County. It is the best kept secret. I keep hearing that. Why? It is the 4th largest county in the nation with a $4.5 billion budget. You know, the future is right here in Maricopa County. And so what is next for Maricopa County? You know, I want to see more health tech, environmental tech, great opportunities right now. The federal government is already, looking at these areas and waiting for communities who are ready for those grant opportunities. We just seen what took place in District 3 with TSMC and the CHIPS plant and the CHIPS Act. We have some real opportunity here, but we also have some real challenges that's going to require leadership. We have a housing and homelessness challenge and a crisis that can only be worked out with coalition builders and problem solvers. So thank you for the time. Again, I also know that we're pressed, but I'm excited about this campaign.
Well, thank you, Danny. And you brought it up. What's next for Maricopa County? Let's ask David Sandoval. Oh, you're muted. You're still muted. There you go.
There we go. Perfect. Yeah, no, I mean, it's all important, right? I mean, when I take a look at District 4, it's, we cover close to upwards of 800,000 people, 2,500 square miles. Every individual in this district has a story, right? When we take a look at the unincorporated areas within District 4, making sure that we're planning that infrastructure and transportation for the next 50 to 100 years. All that is important. Education, of course, is critical. I mean, everybody's talked about it and how we ensure that we continue to invest in our most valuable assets, our youth. Yes, public health and healthcare is important. Water conservation, again, planning for the future. Economic development. We just realized a lot of federal funding as we're going through COVID. How are we going to continue to sustain those services that we brought on from a financial perspective, without impacting, that tax infrastructure, especially for those individuals who are on fixed income. So I think for me, everyone has a story. It'll be up to me to work really, really hard to make sure I'm having those conversations with all the communities and understanding how it could be a solution for them to realize a life of fulfillment and be inspired every day.
Thank you, David. And want to make sure that we know that Steve Gallardo is currently the only Democrat who is on the Board of Supervisors. He is the running incumbent from District 5. But all of these 4 people, Julie, for Hillary, thank you, Hillary, for being here. But I thank to all of those Board of Supervisor candidates, and we need to make sure we get out and vote it all the way, bottom to top. Jeremy, back to you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Steve, and thank you to all of our Board of Supervisors candidates. obviously a critical role, and it was incredibly valuable to hear your insights. Thank you very much. I'm going to keep things moving along, but before I do, just a couple of quick acknowledgements that we need to make as we lead into our third panel of the evening. I want to thank from LD25 both Ed Yunkin and Clay Latimer, who were involved heavily in the promotion of this event. Ed was responsible for all of the graphics that you saw promoting the event leading up. And Clay was responsible for the candidate interviews you may have read in advance of this forum. So thank you very much to you both. We're going to move into our third panel, which is focused on the countywide offices. It's kind of a melting pot. We've got our county assessor, our county attorney candidate, county recorder, county sheriff, which of course is critical. And to introduce you to all of these critical candidates, we're really pleased to have Karen Russo with us to moderate. Karen is a longtime political activist with more than 3 decades of experience in activism, in business, in leadership. I also want to mention she is an alumnus, a graduate alumnus of Columbia University. So our thoughts are with you tonight, Karen, as we're seeing what's occurring on your campus. But with that, I'm going to take us into the interview, or excuse me, into the video introducing our third panel of the evening for our countywide office candidates. And we'll bring you back to Karen Russo to introduce the panel she'll be moderating. Thank you.
Yes, thank you all for watching the video. Thank you for being a voter. So hi, everyone. I'm Karen Russo, and I'm really happy to have these candidates with us. We've got representing Tamika Wooten, who is a candidate for Maricopa County Attorney, is Leah Landrum Taylor, who is, we're so glad you're here. a former Arizona State representative and state senator. And we're really happy that you are with us. And in addition, we have for county assessor, it is Greg Freeman. Thank you, Greg, for being with us. Candidate for county recorder, Tim Stringham, and candidate for county sheriff, Tyler Camp. And we're going to start out with a 60 to 90-second question, and we'll go in the order that I just introduced. Give us your why. So for that candidate, Leah, what's for Tamika? What is the why is she running? Why this office and why now?
Well, first and foremost, thank you so much for organizing it. Everyone who put this together, I know it was a lot of work in doing that. I certainly want to mention the fact that candidate Tamika Wooten certainly would have been here, but she has a traveling conflict. So one of the reasons that she's running for this Maricopa County attorney is because she's dedicated her entire 34-year legal career to fighting for justice, serving Arizonans as a prosecutor, a defense attorney, and as a judge. She has the experience as a chief prosecutor. She has the compassion of a defense attorney and the wisdom of a judge. And she wants to truly just restore faith and trust in the Maricopa County Attorney's Office.
Yes, thank you for that. Thank you very much. And then Greg.
So, hello, everybody. Nice to meet you all. Thank you so much to everybody who put in so much work to put this on. This is an amazing venue. I need to get a copy of that video to take with me when I'm out campaigning because you did a great job of explaining what we're up to and what we're doing here. My name is Greg Freeman. I've worked for 10 years in Arizona in real estate across a bunch of different roles. I've managed construction properties. I've helped people buy homes. I currently work in the commercial real estate space. I'm here before you now because I got sick and tired of the impacts of homelessness and housing affordability that I was seeing in my part of town. And it turns out it's happening everywhere across Maricopa County. There's a lot of factors that go into it. It's very complicated. I see that my role is to be an advocate for the average Arizona family to be able to buy the home that they want to buy in the neighborhood they want to buy. The county assessor deals with real estate value, taxation, pays for all these things that we want, but also is a place to really advocate for property and property owners and really to just create the society that we want to have and let people fulfill the American dream. That's why I'm running and that's what I'm here to promote.
Thank you. And Tim. And I think we need to have him unmuted or.
Thanks so much for having me here. I appreciate you unmuting me. I was afraid you were trying to silence me there. Yeah, I'm Tim Stringham. I'm running for county recorder. I'm an Arizonan, born and raised, a graduate of Arizona State University, and I've spent most of my adult life serving in the armed forces, first doing counterinsurgency and then practicing human rights law. And I'm running for county recorder because as somebody who spent a lifetime trying to defend people's right to vote, I think that right to vote is now in jeopardy here in the state of Arizona from a lot of different sources. And as Greg Freeman always says, there's no one person in government who can get you everything that you want. Democracy is by design about building coalitions. There are a lot of people that take part in our elections. The county recorder is the single most important person in managing the mail-in portion of the vote. That's 80% of voters. Yeah. And I'm the only person running for county recorder as a Democrat and the only person who's not trying to make it harder for you to vote.
Thank you. Thank you. And Tyler.
Yes, good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to y'all. So ever since I was a child, I had a desire, I just wanted to help people. And I always felt the need to serve something greater than myself, a purpose greater than myself. And so when I was asked to run for sheriff by the Democratic Party in October, I asked myself 3 questions. Is there a need? Do I have the right support? And can I make an impact? So I think the need is pretty clear. Anybody who's lived here for any length of time remembers the Joe Arpaio years and what can happen when somebody abuses his power, when somebody politicizes the position. It could be devastating for everyone in the community. So there's definitely a need. We cannot go backwards. We have to move forward. Secondly, support. The Democratic Party supported me thus far. I've built some tremendous relationships as I've traveled the county, meeting with people, earning their support. It's been tremendous. But more importantly, the support of my family. My wife is supporting me. My kids have even pitched in. They write thank you cards to everybody who donates to my campaign. So I appreciate their support and their enthusiasm with this process. And then finally, impact. Can I make an impact? And yes, I can. When I told my wife, or when I asked my wife about this opportunity, she said, Tyler, she says, you can do this. No, you need to do this. The community needs you. And so I'm the only candidate running that's well-rounded, has a well-rounded approach to combat our public safety issues. I have the leadership, temperament, and fortitude to build upon Paul Pinzone's successes and continue to move the sheriff's office forward.
Thank you. I want to thank all of you for really representing just so clearly your why. And then it's important to say, you know, we have probably over 200 or so, maybe even more, Democratic voters and activists and volunteers. And one of the things that we're all interested in is helping voters, some of which aren't as engaged and as educated as the folks that are right here, to vote the entire ballot. And why don't people vote the entire ballot? Is that even if they're loyal to a certain party, especially Democrats, the research will show is that people won't vote the other races if they feel like they don't know the candidate or they don't know enough. So this next series of questions is I'm going to ask each one of you to tell us the key issues and priorities, and you've already started to do that, the key issues and priorities that are associated with the office that you're running for, and tell it to us in a way that we could repeat it at the doors if we needed to. So we'll start with Greg Freeman, so County Assessor. You talked already about middle-class families and affordable housing. Give us a sense of what are the key issues with housing affordability, housing availability, and how your priorities in the assessor's office will help to achieve outcomes.
Well, thank you. That's a lot to try and put in a minute or two, but I'll do my best. I mean, yeah, look, as our Board of Supervisors candidates put things so clearly, the county is posed for an incredible boom. The chip plants that are being built, people are moving here every day, every year, and we need to start building the county that's going to be able to support all those people who are coming here. And guess what? Having a place to live is a basic part of having a successful society, in my opinion. The basic issue that I am running on is the availability and affordability of housing. In the position that I have, part of it is going to be making sure that people are in their homes, are able to stay there, that they don't get priced out. And there are some direct things that the assessor's office can do for that, specifically for people that are older or maybe income limited. There are programs to make their taxes more manageable, specifically to keep them in, to prevent them from becoming homeless in the first place. The second part is that we do need a comprehensive, across the board solution to the housing problems that we have. Some of it will have to be addressed at the House and Senate level. So vote in, turn the House and Senate blue, so we can do that. Part of it's going to be at the county level, board of supervisors, assessors. Part of it's going to be at the city level. I know for me, as I've been campaigning, I will be fearless and relentless in going to whatever community wants to have those conversations about how they can better take care of their residents. And it's going to look like getting a lot more stuff built. It's going to look like maybe changing some of the rules to make it so out-of-state money can't remove homes from the market. There's a lot of things to do. And for me, I'm committed to have those conversations and meet people where they are to make sure we're creating the type of county we all want to live in.
Thank you. This one will go to Tyler. So Tyler, you talked already about safety and protection. And one of the issues I know that is important too is staffing in the sheriff's office and also the sense of community relations with the sheriff's office. So tell us, what are the key issues and priorities that you will emphasize?
Well, I think the biggest issue that we're facing, what this election is going to boil down to is the court orders. And I just want to make sure everybody understands what I mean by these court orders. In 2013, a court order was issued by the federal government to provide oversight to the sheriff's office. And this was because Joe Arpaio had abused his power and he had discriminated against people of color so often in our community. And it was devastating. It was an embarrassment for our county and it just devastated us. And so the court order was needed back in 2013. So it provided oversight. Unfortunately, Joe Arpaio and his regime did not comply with the court order. So then in 2016, a second court order was issued. And that's when Paul Pinzone finally beat Joe Arpaio and was sheriff. And so over the next several years, he's done a tremendous job pulling us out of the hole that Joe Arpaio created. But then again, in 2022, a third court order was issued by the judge for failure to investigate employee misconduct in a timely manner. The total cost of these court orders has cost the county over $250 million. So this essentially has affected employee morale. It's affected it's her retention, it's her recruiting, and so that's why I bring up the court orders, because that's essential. Complying and graduating from the court order is essential to improve our staffing. Now, a few great things did come from the court orders, and that was the creation of our community advisory boards, and that's been instrumental in trying to build back that success. Pinzon took that a step further. He created an African American advisory board, an LGBTQ advisory board, and a Hispanic advisory board. And again, so I'm a very big proponent of these advisory boards. It provides myself insight into what is going on in our communities, and it gives our communities that have been marginalized in the past a voice. And so I want to make sure that they have a seat at the table. And so you have to ask yourself, and this is what everyone listening on the Zoom call can go out in their community and do, and ask their community, who do you trust? Who do you trust not to politicize the sheriff's office? Who do you trust not to abuse the power? And who do you trust to fully comply with the court orders and graduate from them?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go to Leah and then to Tim. So Leah, for Tamika running for county attorney, talk to us a little bit about her priorities. I'm really glad earlier you talked about the prosecutor, defense attorney, judge background that she has. What does she see as key priorities and issues that she'll focus on?
Thank you so much for that question. And I know one of the things that candidate Tamika Wooten wanted me to share this evening is, we know with the recent decision that was made by the Arizona Supreme Court, it's one where you have seen her right there on the front line. And this is what she's about, making sure that when various laws or decisions are made where, for instance, right now, women are under attack in Arizona. And as the county attorney, she will not, and has vowed to not prosecute women or their healthcare providers for personal healthcare decisions and reproductive choices. This is something that is very important to her and is a true priority. In her 34 years in her career, she's had to make some tough decisions. And as county attorney, one of the things that she wants to do and continue to do is protect victims and always do the right thing for the right reasons, and not just for political purposes. Candidate Wooten is one of those individuals that really what you see is what you get. She is certainly a person that you can feel, that you can approach and really speak about things that are important to our community. And another thing she really wanted us to share is that when we look at even the current decisions that have been made, it's something that can have an effect on basic freedoms for many. And right now we know that they are under attack. And if we're not careful, she wanted me to share that things like our religious, our educational, our relational decisions, they can be made for us. So she is willing to continue to be there on the front line, always advocating, always doing what is right, what is fair, and understanding that justice is truly blind.
Thank you. And Tim, in the county recorder's office, talk to us about your priorities. There's been so much about elections. You mentioned already protecting and enhancing our capacity to be able to vote by mail, which 80% of us do. Tell us a little bit about your priorities in office.
Sure. As I said before, I'm the only person who's running for office who's not trying to make it harder for you to vote. And here's what I mean by that. 80% of all Arizonans, and that number cuts across partisan lines, vote by mail. Of that number, 20% of people drop off their ballot at a ballot drop-off box. The Republicans in this race span from trying to get rid of drop-off boxes so that if you don't get your ballot off in time, you'd either have to wait in line or lose your vote, or they want to get rid of mail-in voting altogether. And the reason is simple. When Democrats actually get our issues on the ballots, Democrats win. We're going to win on abortion this November. We win on issues like public education when that actually gets put to the ballot. And when Republicans don't win, they look to change the rules. And as a county recorder, here's what I promise you. If you're an independent or a Republican voter, I believe that my party can win at the polls. And so I have no incentive whatsoever to try and rig the process. And I hope if you're a Republican or an independent, you feel the same way, because elections aren't just about the issues today. They're about hope. They're about the belief that whether you win or lose today, you'll have another chance to convince people that you're right. And we can disagree on the issues, but we shouldn't be disagreeing on hope in our society and in our democracy. And so I want to make sure that whether you're unhoused and having a hard time getting your ballot, I want to take care of that issue. If the poll's too far, I want to take care of that issue. And if you're working 2 or 3 jobs and you need to mail in your ballot, or if you want to spend extra time mailing in your ballot instead of being rushed at the polling place, I want to make sure you get that time. I'm not the only person who would be responsible for that. And I hope you'll consider all of the candidates who've spoken earlier at the Board of Supervisors, because they have a big role to play in our elections as well.
So we have just a few moments left. Let's do 30 seconds. You've got a closing thought, and we'll go in this order: Tyler, Tim, Greg, and then Leah. And this is 30 seconds. Tell us how you see in this race, what's your strategy to win? So, are you distinguishing yourselves against the Republican candidate? Is it your background? Give us 2 or 3 sentences on how to win in your race. Tyler.
It keeps getting shorter. I'm actually the only candidate that's primaried. So I need to distinguish myself now. So the other candidate's Russ Skinner. So a couple quick points. He was appointed. The only reason he's Democrat is because he was appointed by the Republican Board of Supervisors and he had to switch. He has stated this publicly. He's worked for Joe Arpaio for 24 years. Not once did he ever object to his unconstitutional policies and procedures. And he's failed to earn the support of the Democratic Party. Transversely with me, I was recruited by the Democratic Party. I spent over 2 decades of leadership with the Phoenix Police Department. I have a more well-rounded approach to public safety. I've worked overseas in diplomacy, and I've worked with local nonprofits. And lastly, I'm people first, and my career has proven that. I fight for justice with compassion and empathy.
Thank you. Tim.
I think stepping back from my race, what I think every Arizona voter needs to understand is that you have an alternative. For so long in Arizona, we have been caught between radical Republicans and more moderate Republicans, and the state is changing. And I think it's time that we make our voices heard. Don't settle for someone who just meets your base expectations. I think it's time that we started electing people who speak to our higher aspirations. I'm excited about Tyler Camp for sheriff, and I really hope you should be too. I'm really excited about Greg Freeman. I think Tamika Wooten is going to be an amazing county attorney. I think this is a great slate, and I hope you really do vote bottoms up this time around, because I was just talking to Shayna Jaffe yesterday. Our school boards are under attack by Turning Point. Republicans have their eyes at the bottom of the ballot, and I think if we want to protect our communities, we need to do the same thing.
Thank you. Greg.
Building right off of what Tim said there, this isn't just a large attack from one direction, it's from many directions. And the path for all of them, for all of us, for myself, is to have all of our LDs thriving, to have every single LD electing people to the House, to the Senate, and really building that bottom-up support. So right now, my focus is on school board members, making sure they're getting the signatures they needed and getting in front of voters. Because if our school boards are blue, if our legislature's blue, then the county's going to go blue too. And that's what we're here to do.
Thank you. And finally, Leah, we'll make sure you can be unmuted there. Yeah.
Thank you so much. As I had talked about before, and candidate Wooten really wanted me to share this, and the fact that basic freedoms we understand are under attack. And being that she is the only Democratic candidate, of course, the delineation is crystal clear between she and the other candidate. When we look at the fact that individuals that have mental illness And so many times they're jailed simply because they have mental illness and needing to get to that focus of healthcare issues. And that's what's the critical point. Mental illness should not be considered a crime. Candidate Wooten wants to make sure that people have that opportunity to be heard. And a lot of times that's really what it takes. When we're looking at a system where justice should be blind and making sure that folks can tell their side of the story, it's important to her to be able to have listening sessions, roundtables, engaging with the community, making sure that people can assist her and she can stay in touch with what's going on in the community. And I think that from her words, that is something that truly is missing. And that is to be able to be in touch and to be clear about what's happening in the community, and to also be able to serve and have high doses of accountability within her office. That is something crystal clear that she wants to make sure is taken care of. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. Wonderful panel.
Thank you so much, Karen, and thank you to all of the candidates who participated with you. Once again, continuing the pattern of the evening, which is a huge amount of information, a lot of races to keep track of, but all of them critically important. Thanks again, Karen, for helping to make that clear for all of us. Before we jump into our fourth and final panel of the evening, a few other things that I want to mention, a couple of other acknowledgements that we need to make. Janet Pettifer, who managed all of the social media promotion for this event this evening and is the large part of the reason we have such an incredible crowd here. Emily Wilson and Crystal Bazernick, who have been managing all of the tech behind the scenes. The only reason that this is running smoothly is because of those two incredible individuals. And it is really something. In addition, I have to acknowledge, beyond the nearly 300 people we have joining us here this evening, if my math is right, we have 10 watch parties taking place that have been organized around the county this evening. Out in Tempe, Allison put a watch party together. Patty in Sun City West, Bobby in Sun City, Lucy at the LD4 office in Phoenix, Kathy in Australia, Barbara in Glendale, Maureen in Buckeye, Kathy in Goodyear, Pam in Verrado, Lee and Karen at Sun City Festival. This is an incredible show of support and participation from our county Democrats. And again, I'm really proud to be a part of it and can't thank each of you enough for being here to participate and learn with us. Our final panel of the evening is a special session we're doing. And when I heard about it, I immediately volunteered to moderate because it's to tackle what may be one of the most critical issues facing our state in the coming decades, which is the issue of water. And nowhere in Arizona is that really more critical than here in Maricopa County, where we continue to see tremendous growth in population and a need for sustainable and reliable resources in water to continue to sustain that population. So I'm going to be joined here in just a moment by two of our candidates for the Central Arizona Water Conservation District Board. These are the overseers of the Central Arizona Project. We have two incumbents with us who we are hoping to see reelected again this fall. Heather McRae and Terry Goddard are both here. It's a pleasure to see both of you. I'll say full disclosure, I'm proud to count them both as friends and looking forward to a good discussion. I see Heather. Do we have Terry with us?
Terry Goddard, could you please turn your video on so I can spotlight you?
Thank you. Thank you. Always a momentary pause, but we'll get up and running. In the meantime, in the interest of time, Heather, you're with us. Let's jump in. You've spent some time on this board already and involved pretty intricately in the infrastructure that it takes to deliver water here to Maricopa County. Can you talk a little bit, just quickly, share with everybody a little bit about what the board does and is responsible for, and the work you've been doing in your role thus far?
Yes, I have served on the board for 12 years, which is incredible in some ways. I always like to tell people I started when I was 5 years old. But yeah, I have served for 12 years on the Central Arizona Water Conservation District Board, the CAWCD. We are the absolute bottom of the ballot. But what we do is incredibly important. The Central Arizona Water Conservation District Board oversees the Central Arizona Project, or CAP canals. The CAP canals are 336 miles long. They take about 1.5 million acre feet of Colorado River water off of Lake Havasu. It flows down through Maricopa, Pima, and Pinal counties. Our terminus is just south of Tucson, and we serve about 80% of Arizona's population. Just to give you an idea of how much water this is, we're moving about 1.5 million acre feet a year. 1 acre foot is enough to fill a football field with 1 foot deep of water. It's also enough water for 4 households for 1 year.
So obviously this is essential, and we're hearing a lot about water policy at the statewide level. The Central Arizona Project and the board that governs it is in an interesting position because you are one group of stakeholders in a large web of agencies and regulators that include the U.S. Department of Water or the Bureau of Water Reclamation, the State Department of Water Services, as well as municipalities, many of whom you're serving. How do you sort out all of that out, and how much influence does the board really have in all of these big policy decisions that are affecting the next 100 years and beyond of our water future?
You know, the good news is that most of the agencies work pretty well together. For example, CAP is sort of the main voice of Arizona on Colorado River issues. Certainly, we have other water users who are on river. Certainly, we have other folks who are involved. But CAP is sort of the main voice on Colorado River issues. SRP gets water from the Salt and Gila rivers, so they're dealing with a little bit of a different supply. Of course, we have the State Department of Water Resources, which is sort of an umbrella organization, and all of us interface with the federal government, specifically through the Bureau of Reclamation. What we like to think about is creating Team Arizona, and this has been really successful for us as a strategy. And that is working with our partners at SRP, working with our partners at the Department of Water Resources to try and speak to the extent that we can with one voice. And the way that we've done that is by creating a very robust stakeholder project. When we were working through the drought contingency plan, and as we are now working through the reconsultation committee, we've really tried to convene a diverse group of stakeholders, which is really different from how things have been done in the past. You know, we're now really including environmental working groups. We're including a lot of our tribal governments, in addition to sort of the normal stakeholders that you would see are, you know, our municipal customers, our industrial customers, our agricultural customers. So we really try to speak as Team Arizona as much as possible, because we found that we can accomplish so much more when we work together. Now, certainly there's tensions within that, and there are times where that's been more prominent than others, but we find that by working together, and typically we have very good working relationships, it does tend to get us a lot further. Now, obviously, we're in a little bit of an interesting time right now with the feds. I see Terry has joined us, so I don't want to completely take this one over. In that the Bureau of Reclamation is deciding again between multiple plans for how the river will be operated. We currently have an upper basin plan that I'm just diplomatically going to say does not work for us here in Arizona or much of the lower basin. And so we have put forth a lower basin plan that we believe is much more moderate and in a much better plan. And, you know, I'll be honest, it puts us in some strange relationships because right now we've got some alliances in California, and typically that's not how things shake out. But, you know, that's the thing in water. We always have to be willing to work together and compromise. And I certainly want to give Terry some time here. Terry's actually on the call.
Terry, it's good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, Heather's had a few minutes to jump in, so I want to give you a good chance to talk a little bit about the work you've been doing thus far. Heather gave some background on the board and its responsibilities. You're sitting in front of a background that illustrates one of the key problems we're dealing with, and that is that clear white layer towards the bottom of the rock surrounding the the water that we see. Where are you on the future of water sustainability in Maricopa County? And how do you, as a member of this board and hopefully continuing on this board, see yourself playing a part in sustaining that future?
Well, thank you. I've been on the whole time. I've just been at a war with Zoom. It's just not been cooperative, but hopefully you can hear me now. And Heather, thank you for starting this thing off very well. And thanks to everybody for this is a real test of democracy, that you could stay into a program this long on your computer and still be here and awake. So thank you. Water is unfortunately absolutely critical, and it is the last thing on the ballot. It's the last thing on today's program. And I think we've got to get more militant here and try to get people in Arizona, because of, as you mentioned, the bathtub ring, which is behind me in this photo. This is actually a little better situation than we had at the very lowest point. This is Lake Mead. And what happened to the two big lakes that make our future possible is that they went down to about a quarter of their total capacity 2 years ago. And that meant that they kicked in some very, very tough conservation methods that most of them fell upon the group that Heather and I represent, and that's the Central Arizona Project. The reason for that is fairly simple. Back in 1968, when the project was authorized by Congress, in order to get the votes from California, who was opposed to it from the beginning, it was necessary to say that they would continue to get their water even if we got nothing. Well, now what Heather just touched on is the fact that that was sort of the low point of our relationships with California. It may have gotten lower, but it was very serious, and the warfare was very real. Now, because of a lot of talk and a lot of good work by staff, we've gotten to the point where California, Arizona, and Nevada, the lower basin, are working together very seamlessly. I wish I could say that was true of the upper basin, the folks where some of the water originates and who they claim let it flow down. I don't know what they would do with it otherwise, perhaps be flooded. But the upper basin is the states of Wyoming, Colorado, New Mexico. Don't know how New Mexico got in the upper basin, and Utah. So they're the ones right now that we're in a competition, a debate, a fight for our lives, because water truly is life in the desert. And we need to have as much as we've gotten now with the cutbacks. 1/3, as you probably know, of the total amount that CAP brings to the center of Arizona has been eliminated. And if you go through Pinal County, you'll see the economic devastation that's been caused by that elimination, because literally hundreds, if not thousands of acres of farmland have been taken out of production because of that 1/3 cut. So far, the cities and tribes have not been cut, but we're very concerned that under certain future scenarios, that could actually happen. And just to repeat what some of the things that Heather has said, the CAP comes in as an extra supply of renewable supply that supplements what Salt River Project and groundwater are already providing. So we're in most areas, most cities in Central Arizona, it's about 1/3 of the water supply that people get. But that is geographically distinguishable. If you live in Western Maricopa County, it's more like 80%. If you live in Scottsdale, it's about 60%. If you live in Phoenix, it's about 1/3. So depending on where you happen to be located in Maricopa County, it could make a big difference as to whether or not we continue to have the supply that we've been enjoying since 1985, when the water first got to Phoenix. So I'll stop for a moment. I know this is complicated. I'm not sure how long we've got, but I'm feeling the tolerance of this wonderful audience is going to be a little shorter now that we're at the very end of the program. So
unfortunately, the only commodity we have that may be more precious and more limited than water is time. So we do need to wrap this up quickly, but I will just ask each of you 30 seconds, quick answer, your single top priority to accomplish when we elect you for your next term. Heather, go ahead.
It has to be securing Arizona's water future. What we're doing now with the Arizona Reconsultation Commission is very important, but it's not the only thing. So it has to be electing forward-facing leadership who will promote transparency and bring new ideas to the table. Arizona cannot flourish without water, but I think a lot of those solutions really are going to be in the technology space and in bringing in new ideas.
Thank you. Terry, lightning round.
Lightning round. Well, we have to find for our state, and this has been a continuing fight since before statehood, is a secure, renewable supply, something we can depend on this year, next year, and the year after. That may mean that it's a smaller supply than it's been in the past. The Colorado River is way down from what the original folks who tried to divide it up thought it would serve. Now we're dealing with half of that, and yet there's more demand than ever. 40 million people use this river for food and for sustenance and for life. And that's a very, very tough future. So Heather and I have accumulated a pretty significant amount of knowledge and seniority. We hope that means something for folks. There are 5 members to be elected from Maricopa County. There are 4 incumbents that are running. 2 of them are from the other party. There have to be very good board members, so I'm not going to say anything partisan about them. But this is a really important, water issues are really important for our future. We're dedicated to just what Heather said, to fighting for a secured supply for the next 20 years, because that's the period that this next agreement is going to cover.
Terry, Heather, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for the hard work you're doing and for the hard work we know you're going to continue to do when we get you reelected this cycle. Really appreciate you both.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you.
And to everyone who has stuck with us, thank you for being here tonight. I want to just one more time acknowledge a few people without whom we couldn't be here. To our MCDP chair, Patty O'Neill, and your team who are working so hard to make sure that all of these candidates get a 3 incredible LD chairs who made this event happen. Sherry Tomlinson, Victoria Kozleric, Donna Durand, I cannot thank you enough. People are going to walk away from this, I hope, feeling empowered, feeling like they have new knowledge, and feeling ready to go and talk to friends and neighbors and family members and coworkers and get out the vote this November. Each of these candidates needs your help. They need your support. They need your financial support. Our candidates who are running for school boards, and that includes the Maricopa Community Colleges Board, still need signatures at this point. We are asking everyone, this is all hands on deck, to spread the word. Make sure everyone you know in Maricopa County is registered, is educated, and is ready to vote. The future of our democracy depends on it. And these races that are on all parts of the ticket are critical top to bottom. I want to thank everybody so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for giving of your time. I know candidates have been posting their links in the chat. Please take a look. And I know you'll be hearing at some point, there will be archive of this video, I believe, available for viewing and sharing once it's had an opportunity to be archived. With that, I thank you all. I wish everyone a good evening. To those of you who are gathered at watch parties, get home safely, and we will see you all at the ballot box in November. Thank you very much.